Yes, fine.
Shall I start? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Fine. ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरुः सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरुः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So in the last session we saw that Nachiketa, our hero, the Shishya of Yamadharmaraja, who's the Guru, has already reached the Yamaloka. And when he reached there, he found that Bhagwan Yama was not there in his house. He was out on work. And what did Nachiketa do? Since he had gone there in the service of Yama as the master, Nachiketa decided that he is going to wait outside the house of Yamadharmaraja, wait for him to return, and then only after taking his permission, he would do whatever he is asked to do. See, we have not yet come to the teaching yet because the Shishya Nachiketa and the teacher or the Acharya Yama have not yet met each other. And as I told you in the last two sessions, the first chapter, the entire not first chapter, the first valli of the first chapter, the first section of the first chapter, the entire section of 29 verses is only going to talk about the story of Nachiketa the Shishya and Yamadharmaraja the Guru meeting each other and having a conversation where they are going to get introduced to each other, and the actual teaching is going to start only from the 18th verse of the second valli of the first chapter. So still even now the Akhyayika or the story is going on, and as I said just now, Nachiketa waited for Yamadharmaraja to return from his work. And when Yama returned from his work, his family members, that is his wife, told him that there is a Brahmana Atiti here waiting for you for the last 3 days. He is gone hungry and thirsty, and he has not accepted any of the Atithyam that we have offered because he has been waiting for you. He has spent 3 nights outside this house, and the family members, especially the wife, tells Yamadharmaraja that any house where a Brahmana Atiti comes and remains hungry and thirsty, such a house, such members of such a house are going to lose all the punya that they have accrued by any good deeds they have done. Now we have to understand that here Nachiketa was not actually neglected or ignored by Yama. We have to understand that. Yamadharmaraja was not there, and Nachiketa was not willing to take any of the atithyam from the other people in Yama's family. Therefore, he voluntarily decided to wait. Even then, the family of Yamadharmaraja said that please get water immediately and do the Pada Puja to this Atiti Brahmana because Whenever an Atiti Brahmana comes home, it is as though Vaishwanara Agni has come home. And Agni can literally burn away all the punyas that we have accrued, all the good things that have stood for us, and who have really managed to get good karma phalas for us. All such good karma phalas earned out of good deeds can be lost. Therefore, Hey Yama, appease this Atiti first. And therefore, Yama did whatever had to be done. He brought in water, did Pada Puja to the Atiti, who was nothing but our Nachiketa, and then for atonement of whatever he had omitted to do, out of omission, whatever mistake had happened from Yama's side, Bhagwan Yama. Now we can call Bhagwan Yama because he is the teacher, he is the Acharya. Yamadharmaraja decides to atone for whatever papa has happened inadvertently, unintentionally by him. Some papa has happened in the form of keeping a Brahmana Atiti hungry and thirsty for 3 nights outside his house. And therefore, what does Yama do? Yama tells the Chiketa that you can ask for 3 boons for me. I will give you 3 varas, one for each night. One for each night that you have spent without eating, without drinking water, without sleep, that you have waited for me. For each night, I am willing to atone for that by offering you or giving you 1 vara for each night. And what does Nachiketa do? He encashes or accepts the first vara. The first vara is what he asks for his father. We saw that in the last session also. Since this is a story, since this is an Akhyayika, I don't want to elaborate too much on this story because we have already seen that. Whatever I am telling you is just to, sort of recapitulate whatever we have done in the last session. And so, yeah, Nachiketa encashes on his first boon, and that first boon he encashes for his father. He says that my father was not in a good state of mind when he sent me. He was upset with me, he was angry with me, and probably now he must be feeling very guilty and worried for me as to where I am and what I am doing. Therefore, the first vara I ask you is for the peace of mind of my father. Let my father be Shanta Sankalpaha. Let there be no agitation in his mind. Sumana, let my father be happy and let him sleep well. And Vitamanyuhu, let him be out of any anger that he had towards me because I kept irritating him, asking him twice, thrice as to who are you going to send me to. And then, out of anger in the Yagashala, he said that I'm going to send you to Yamadharmaraja. And hey Yama, hey Guru, I have come here honoring the words of my father. So I just want you to see that my father is peaceful and happy. At the same time, when I go back from here, I know that you're not going to keep me forever here. After my purpose here is served, you're going to send me back to Bhuloka. And when I go back to my father in Bhuloka, he should recognize me and he should have a happy disposition towards me. He should not think that I am somebody who has come from Loka. He should not mistake me for a Preta or a Bhuta or something. He should recognize me as his son who left for Martya, who left for Loka and came back. He should recognize me and he should be happy, have a happy disposition towards me. And what does Yamadharmaraja say? Yes, I grant you this particular boon. See, in this one boon, Nachiketa has asked for 4 or 5 things, but at the end he says, all these things I ask from you as the first boon, O Yama. And Yamadharmaraja, seeing this small boy, 8-year-old boy, very happily gives in to this vara and he says, yes, this vara is granted to you. Now your father is going to sleep well. He's not going to worry about you and he will not feel guilty about what has happened. When you go back, also, he will be happy to see you and he will be protected by me. He'll be protected by me in such a way that out of my blessings, I have blessed him. He says, Audalaki Aruni Mat Prasrishtaha. Blessed by me, your father Uddalaki Aruni is going to have peaceful days and peaceful nights. He is not going to be guilty or worried about you. With this, the first vara or the first boon is over. Now, the next boon, the time has come for Nachiketas to ask for the second boon. Now, the second boon, what does Nachiketa do? He does not ask for the second boon for himself. The first two boons, Nachiketa is not asking for himself. The first boon was asked for his father. The father was the recipient of the advantages or the blessings of Yama from this boon. Now, Nachiketa wants to encash his second boon by asking Yamadharmaraja for something which can be useful for people generally, for generally all the people that can be useful. What is this boon based upon? Now, let us have a small background of this because, as I said, the verses in Kathopanishad are so cryptic. Even in the story, we will not know what the verses are meaning, what is the underlying, in between the lines, what the story is talking about. We will not know unless we have studied the Bhashyam of Acharya Shankara. So now, when he is asking for the second boon, he is keeping the well being of the people of Bhuloka in mind. Now, what is this boon based upon? All of us in the Martya Loka, not Mrityu Loka, Martya Loka is this Bhuloka. All people in Bhuloka are always looking for happiness. And I said in one of the previous sessions that Vittaishana, Lokaishana, and Putraishana are the three important desires that a human being has. And most of the, in the Vedic period, most of the Vedikas did a lot of yajnas and yagas to attain higher lokas like Swargaloka. Now, Swargaloka is not one particular one loka. There are 6 levels of experience about the Bhuloka. Bhuvarloka, Suvarloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapolokas, then Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. All these can be generally called as the Swarga. Anything above the Bhuloka, there are different gradations or different fields of experience, and there are 6 lokas above this human earthly existence. And any of those lokas can be called as Swargaloka. Bhuvarloka can be Swargaloka. Then Suvarloka can be Swargaloka. Brahmaloka is also Swargaloka. So Swargaloka means higher lokas. And many people have the desire to reach these higher lokas by doing various karmas and upasanas. And the Veda Purva, our Karma Kanda, has a lot of rituals, yajnas, and yagas which help people in getting this particular desire of theirs fulfilled. Jyotishto, Swarga Kamo Jyotishto Mena Yajeta. That is what he said. That means a person who is a Swarga Kama, a person who is interested in getting higher lokas after death, may he do the Jyotishtoma Yaga. There are so many other yagas also. One of the other yagas we are going to see here now. In the boon that Nachiketa is asking for, the second boon, we are going to see another ritual which is talked about by Yamadharmaraja, which helps people in attaining higher lokas and Swargaloka. Therefore, Nachiketa knows that his father himself did Vishwajit Yajna. Why did he do this Vishwajit Yajna? Ushan Havai, desiring Swargaloka, desiring higher lokas after this life, after life, to attain Swargaloka. Nachiketa's father himself did a yaga, a yajna called as Vishwajit Yajna. He did that. And there are other yajnas which are meant for those people who desire for Swarga. And now ultimately, who is Yamadharmaraya? He is a Swargavasi. Yamadharmaraja is the one who is living in the higher lokas. He is a Devata, and therefore Yamadharmaraja will definitely know of a ritual, of a yaga or a yajna which can be easily followed by people of Bhuloka to attain their desire of reaching the higher lokas or reaching Svarga. Therefore, Nachiketa wants to ask Yamadharmaraja, please teach me that particular yaga or yajna by doing which any person in the Bhuloka who's desirous of reaching Swarga, who's desirous of reaching Swarga, may do so. Therefore, this boon also, Nachiketa is not asking for himself. How do you know? You may ask me. How do you know Nachiketa is not asking for this boon for himself? How do you know he's asking it for somebody else? We'll know that in the future. Later on, in the later mantras, we will understand that Nachiketas is not interested in Bhuloka. Nachiketas is not interested in any of the things Yamadharmaraja is going to offer him later. We'll only know about it in the later part of the first Vali, and in the first part of the second Vali, we will know that it is not that Nachiketa wants to be in Swarga. Nachiketa has no desire for Swargaloka. His desire is for something else. His desire is for moksha. His desire is for this jnanam. And that is why he has come here. The whole Kathopanishad is based on the dialogue between Yamadharmaraja, the Acharya, and Nachiketa, the Shishya, which is going to start from the 18th verse of the second Vali of the first chapter, where Atmajnana for moksha is going to be taught by Yama. But now he is asking for a boon for the benefit of the people of the Bhuloka. So he wants to know what is that Vidya, what is that Karma, what is that Upasana by which a person in the Bhuloka can attain higher lokas. So in the 12th verse, Nachiketa Uvacha. Nachiketa said, what did he say? He asked for this second boon of how to reach or how to attain that higher loka, and what is the means for that. What is the means? That is, it is, of course, this what Yamadharmaraja is going to talk about the means. It is also there in the Veda Purva, which is called as the Nachiketa Agni, which is going to be told in the next two verses. We'll know what it is. It is also there, one of the methods, one of the means by which one can attain higher lokas or Swarga loka. So first, Nachiketa asks Yamadharmaraja this question. Nachiketa Uvacha. स्वर्गे लोके न भयं किञ्चनास्ति न तत्र त्वं न जरया बिभेति उभेति त्वा अशनाया पिपासे शोकातिगो मोदते स्वर्गलोके. So now Nachiketa is giving a description of Swargaloka as understood by the people of Bhuloka. People have understood Swargaloka as what? Swargaloka means any higher loka, heaven. We may call it heaven. Is there a specific place called as a Swargaloka? All these higher lokas, after Bhuva, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapa, all these lokas that are going to come. Loka means what? A field of experience, that's all. Where there are jivas of higher jivas, more exalted jivas are there. And those higher lokas can be called generally and together as Swarga. Swarga is not one specific place where so many jivas are. It's not like that. It's at higher lokas, that's all. So here he says that, hey Yamadharmaraja, I have heard, and we people from Bhuloka have the impression that Swarge Loke na bhayam kinchana asti. There is no bhaya in Swargaloka. What kind of a bhaya? What is the normal fear for people of Bhuloka? The fear of Jara, old age, fear of Roga, disease, and Mrityu, fear of death. These are the three most important bhayas we have: Jara, Roga, and Mrityu. Isn't it? All of us are afraid of these things. All people are afraid of these things. And why is it that people want Svargaloka? People of Bhuloka feel that, and it is true also, that there is no fear of old age, Roga, and Mrityu in Svargaloka. It is said that in Svargaloka, a jiva is constantly young, sweet 16, constantly young. There is no aging process in the Svargaloka, it is said, in higher lokas. At the same time, there is no disease or illness in Svargaloka, that's what is said. Then, one more thing now he says, there is no fear from death also. What is the meaning of this? Does it mean that Svargaloka is an immortal loka? It does not mean that it is an immortal loka. It means relatively long life they have. Relatively immortal. Relatively. What is real immortality? Brahman or Atma is real immortality. Moksha is real immortality. Understanding that I am Brahman, Atma, Ayam Atma, Aham Brahma Asmi. This knowledge is called as moksha, which is attaining that immortal Brahman. Understanding that I am immortal Brahman. That is the Paramarthika immortality. That is the Paramarthika Mrityuless state. But in all the higher lokas, this immortality is, the meaning is, a long time you will be there. A long time you will be there. How do you know that? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has said, Tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishalam, kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. A jiva is going to be there in Svargaloka or the higher lokas as long as one's punya persists. Once the punya is gone, this jiva has to come back to the human birth. Therefore, Swargaloka is not immortal. One lives there for long, 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 long time, for thousands or lakhs of years. In Brahmaloka, a person who has reached Brahmaloka by upasana, we know that in Bhagavad Gita we have seen that a person who has done karma with upasana reaches Brahmaloka, and till the end of this srishti, the person doesn't come back, stays there. And there is a possibility of Krama Mukti, which we have seen in Bhagavad Gita also, which we have seen in Viveka Chudamani also. But still, Bhagwan Krishna says, what does he say? A Brahma Bhuvana Lokat Punaravartinorjuna. A Brahma Bhuvana Lokaha. All the Brahma Loka, including Punaravartinaha, they repeat, they come back again. So from the Shruti and Smriti only we understand that there is no fear of Mrityu when Nachiketa says here. It does not mean that the Svargaloka is immortal. It means that there is an apekshika nityatvam. It is not paramarthika nityatvam. That means it is not absolute immortality. A very long period one will be there in the higher lokas, which is interpreted by the Shruti, by the Shastra, is a temporary immortality. So it is not absolute permanence, it is temporary permanence. Like we say, when we are on a probation, what do we say? I have got a temporary probationary job. After the probation, what do I say? I have got a permanent job. But is the job really permanent? Till I retire, it is there, that's all. Permanent job means till I retire. After I retire, there is no job. Similarly, he says that there is no fear of Mrityu. Mrityu does not come to Svargaloka. What it means is that kind of an immortality is a relative immortality. So, what does he say here? Swarge loke na bhayam kinchana asti. There is no fear from Jara, Roga, and Mrityu. Why no fear from Mrityu? Second line, he says, Na tatra tvam na jaraya bibheti. Hey Yamadharma Raja, you have no entry there. Your entry is only in lower lokas, in taking the jivas away. In the higher lokas, you do not have any work. Na tvam tatra. You are not there in the higher lokas. Therefore, there is no fear from mrityu. What does it mean? Does it mean there is no mrityu? It does not mean that higher lokas are immortal. They are also going to go back into a potential form at the end of the creation. And any jiva who is in higher lokas, once the punya is exhausted, the jiva has to come back to the lower lokas. Therefore, the fear of mortality in Svargaloka or in higher lokas is apekshikam. It is only temporary, it is not permanent. So, very, very in a mischievous way, Nachiketa is telling, Tatra na tvam na jaraya bibheti. Hey Yama, hey Guru, we feel in our Bhuloka, it is understood that in Svargaloka, your influence does not work, you are not there. Na jaraya bibheti. There is no jara there, there is no old age, there is no dukkha there. What kind of dukkha? The dukkhas that we have is not there. But in Svargaloka also, higher lokas also, the jivas have their own level of dukkha and sukha. They experience their own sukha dukkha. But whatever sukha and dukkha we are experiencing, whatever we are aware of, that may not be there. Ube tirtva ashanaya pipase. I've heard that in Swargaloka there is no ashana pipasa. Hunger and thirst are not there. It is said that it seems in Swargaloka, in higher lokas, the mere thinking or the thought of food and water satisfies their hunger and thirst. It seems. They don't have to eat anything. There's no question of eating anything in the higher lokas. No question of drinking any water. Just the very thought of it. Just the very thought of any food, immediately it is satisfied. So there is no hunger, there is no, thirst there. So he says, Ubhe tirtva ashanaya pipase. I've heard that people living in this Svargaloka, higher lokas, are beyond hunger and thirst also. Shokatigo modate Svargaloke. We have heard that there is no shoka in Svargaloka. That is to be debatable. We don't know. What is shoka? From our point of view, the samsara that we are suffering, the dukkha that we are suffering, we call it as the shoka. But then we feel that in Svargaloka, there is no shoka, there is no ashana, there is no pipasa, there is no jara, there is no mrityu, there is no roga. This is our concept of Swarga. Therefore, we all want to go to Swarga if possible. So, he says here in the next verse, he says, Since I have heard that the Swarga Loka is like this, and who else can be a better person than you, O Yama, to tell me how to attain this Svargaloka? What should one do to attain this Svargaloka? What is that ritual that one has to do, or yaga or yagna that one has to do? And he asks for it in the next verse. He says in the 13th verse, Satvam Agnigam Svargyam Adhyeshi Mrityo प्रब्रूहि त्वगं श्रद्धधानाय मह्यं स्वर्गलोका अमृतत्वं भजन्तः ये तद्वितीयेन वृणे वरेण द्वितीयेन वरेण ये तद् वृणे. By the second boon or vara, I ask for this. What do I ask for? Satvam Agnim Swargyam Adhyeshi He Mrityo. He Mrityo, You know that means by which one can attain Swarga. Agnim Swargyam. You know that Agni by which Swarga can be reached. Now, here we have to understand what is the meaning of Agni. What is Nachiketa is saying here? He Yama, He Mrityo, okay, Tvam Swa Agnim Swargyam Adhyeshi. You are very well aware of what is it that has to be done to attain the Swargaloka. What is the means? And the means here is called as Agni. What is the meaning of Agni? Agni has got three meanings here. Now, Agni means fire, we know that. But in the language of Veda Purva, in the language of any of the rituals and yajnas and yagas done, Agni has got three meanings. And in all the three meanings, the word Agni is used here. What is the first meaning of Agni? That fire which is lit up for the sake of this particular yajna. How that fire is lit up, with what means that fire is lit up, how that fire is lit up, and in which kind of a yajna kunda the fire is lit up. What are the materials used for lighting this fire in which kind of a yajna kunda? This is the meaning of the first meaning of Agni. That means what? How to actually bring in this fire. What are the materials used? There is something called as arani with two pieces of wood. This, you know, fire is kindled. So how? What is this fire? How this fire is kindled, how this fire is kept going, which kind of a yajna kunda is used to kindle this fire. This is the meaning of first Agni. First meaning of Agni. The second meaning of Agni is the very ritual itself, by which a person is trying to attain whatever he wants, that very ritual itself is called as Agni. Why? Because it is an Agni karma, it is an Agni ritual, it is a fire ritual. You are going to put in certain havis in that. What kind of a havis has to be put? What is the material that is used to give oblations? What are the oblations that are given? Which part of the Agni the oblations are given? This is the methodology of that particular fire ritual that is done. So the ritual itself is also called as Agnihi, the ritual itself. Then a ritual has got a particular devata in mind. There is an upasana along with this Agni karma, along with this fire ritual. There is an appeasement of a particular devata. It could be Indra, it could be Agni, it could be Vayu, it could be any particular devata. So that particular devata or that particular deity for whose sake this yajna is done is also called as Agni. Therefore, when Nachiketa is asking here, Sa Svargyam Agnim Tvam Adhyeshi He Mrityo. He Mrityu Devata, sorry, you are very well aware of that fire ritual by which a human being, a human jiva, can attain Swarga. And that Agni, you know. What is the meaning of that Agni? How to kindle that Agni? What kind of a Homa Kunda one should kindle that Agni in? What are the oblations that one has to offer into this Agni? What is the exact ritual? Who is the devata that is to be appeased? Who is the devata for whom the oblation have to be given? Who is the devata on whom the upasana has to be done? All these things you know. So the word Agni here is used in these three meanings. Again, you may question, how do you know this? This again is given in Bhagwan Shankaracharya's Bhashya. See here, there is only word. Tvam Agnigam Swargyam Adhyeshi. If you simply literally translate it, what does it mean? Hey Yama, you know that Agni, you know that fire by which one can reach Swarga. This is the meaning you will get if you just look at it word by word, transliteration. That is not the meaning. This one small sentence is so full of meaning as to what is the meaning of Agni. All these three meanings Nachiketa is implying. Nachiketa is, after all, the son of a Vaidika. He is an intelligent boy, the son of a Vaidika, who is aware of what are the things that are done, who is aware of what his father has done, part of the Veda Purva or Karma Kanda Yajnas. So he asks, what is that ritual by which, what is that fire ritual by which one can reach Swargam? Prabruhi tvagam shraddhadanaya mahyam. I have the shraddha. To whom can you give this kind of a teaching? It's a matter of shraddha, isn't it? That there is a Swarga Loka is also a matter of shraddha. That there is a ritual which can be done in Bhuloka, by which after death I can reach Swarga Loka is also a matter of shraddha. Whatever is there in the Veda Purva, I have Shraddha in the Vedas. So, what the Veda Purva or Karma Kanda talks about various rituals, I have got Shraddha in that, and therefore I ask for it. Otherwise, who has seen Swargaloka? Does anybody who has done these rituals, do we know that they have gone to Swargaloka or not? Who has come back and told us that there is, yes, you follow this particular ritual, you will reach there. When you reach there, you are free of thirst and hunger. You are free from dukkha. Who has told us? Nobody has told us. It is a matter of Shraddha. It is a matter of trust in what our Vedas are telling. Because this is something where it is a Paurusheyam, where no human being has got the capacity to understand whatever is happening there. Therefore, he says, Mahyam Shraddhadhanaya Prabruhi Tvam. Second line. What does he say? I have the Shraddha in this. And therefore, Mahyam Shraddhadhanaya. I, the one who has got Shraddha in this ritual, I have the Shraddha that you, being a Svargalokavasi, knows the ritual. I have the Shraddha that whatever you are going to tell me about this ritual, the phalam is definitely going to be Swargam. I have the Shraddha, therefore I am a Shraddhadhanaha. Shraddhadhanaya Mahyam Prabruhi. Please teach me. Please teach me this ritual. Swargaloka Amritatvam Bhajantaha. Those people who are desiring immortality, loka, swarga loka, amritatvam bhajantaha, those people who are desiring the immortality of swarga loka. I already discussed what is the immortality meaning here. Immortality does not mean the atyantika or ultimate immortality of moksha. It only means apekshika nityatvam. It is only apekshika immortality. That means what? Temporary immortality. Long period. Like you say, earth is immortal. For millions of years, the earth will be there. One day the earth also goes back into potential form. Sun, we say immortal. It is Ishvara, immortal. Millions of years, billions of years, 60 billion, 70 billion years, our sun god is going to be there. So we look upon Surya as Surya Narayana. But even that Surya is one day, after billions of years, is going to go back into a potential form. Therefore, if you look at these things, there is something called as a very long term immortality. So, those who are desirous of this kind of immortality, Swargaloka Amritatvam Bhajantayah, Yeta Dvitiyena Varena Vrine. I want to know this particular ritual. by which those who are desiring for this kind of a long term immortality can reach this. And who else can be a better teacher than you? Because I have come to you who is living in Swargaloka. You must have probably done this also a ritual to be a part of Swargaloka here. Therefore, I want to know what this Agni is. That means what? What kind of a fire? What kind of a fire ritual? Which devata is to be the upasya devata in this karma? I want to know that. So what does Mrityu devata say? Mrityoho pratigneyam. In the next verse, in the 14th verse, Mrityu says, I will give you that. I will give you that knowledge because you have asked for this vara. And mind you, he is not asking that for himself. Later on, we will know that Nachiketa rejects everything, including Svargaloka. He rejects immortality. He says, I don't want this kind of an immortality. I want that atyantika immortality, that which is the ultimate paramarthika immortality I really want. That's what he asks later. So he is asking this for the sake of those people. Probably he remembered his father who had done a similar yaga for attaining the higher lokas. So now Mrityu Devata says, yes, I will tell you what is to be done. In the 14th verse, the Mrityu Devata says, प्रते ब्रवीमि तदुमे निबोध स्वर्ग्यम् अग्निं नचिकेतः प्रजानन् अनन्तलोकाप्तिमथो प्रतिष्ठां विद्धि त्वमेतं निहितं गुहायाम्. So Mrityu Devata says, Te prabravimi. I am going to very clearly explain to you whatever you have asked for. May nibodha. May you listen to me carefully and understand what I am telling you. Swargyam agnim nachiketaha prajanan. May you know this Swargyam Agnihi, this ritual, this Devata which is going to be the Upasya Devata along with this karma. May you know this, understand this very, very clearly. And this Agni helps in what? Anantaro prapti matho pratishtha. This ritual is the pratishtha or the basis for attaining Ananta Lokas, those lokas, higher lokas, which have got that apekshika nityatvam, those lokas which are free from hunger and thirst, those lokas where there is no fear of roga, jara and mrityu, Ananta Loka Prapti Mataha, Pratishtha. This particular ritual, which is going to be a means to attain this Ananta Loka Prapti, Vidhitvametam Nihitam Guhayam. May you understand that that particular deity on whom this ritual is based, that particular deity about whom or about which the upasana is going to be done along with this karma, Agni karma, is nothing but that which is situated, which is available in your own buddhi guha. That deity who's going to be worshipped along with this Agni karma is that deity which is nothing but that which is available as Ishvara in your own Hridaya Guha, in your own heart. That's what is going to be told. Then he talks to him about what that particular yajna, how is it to be done. Very, very briefly, in the 15th verse, Yamadharmaraja has given it briefly. The mantra gives it very briefly. But then there is a lot of things that are hidden, hidden meaning in between lines. There are a lot of things which Yamadharmaraja tells Nachiketa as to how to kindle this Agni, how to do this entire ritual, and what is the deity or devata that is going to be propitiated in this particular karma. So in the 15th verse, he says, Idam Shruter Vachanam. This is the Vachanam of Shruti. This is the words of the Shruti. This is what is given in the Veda Purva. I am not telling you as my own interpretation. Idam Shruter Vachanam. Hey Nachiketa, what I am going to tell you is the Shruti Vachanam. This is what the Vedas are talking about, this particular ritual. So he says, लोकादिमग्निं तमुवाच तस्मै या इष्टका यावतीर्त्वा यथा वा स चापि तत्प्रत्यवदध्यतोक्तम् अथास्य मृत्युः पुनरेवाहतुष्टः. Now, what does he do? What is that deity? What is that Upasya Devata, which is also called as Agni, is Loka Adim Agnim. What is that Devata who is propitiated here? What is that Devata whose Upasana is done along with this particular ritual? I told in the previous verse the three meanings of Agni. The fire itself is the first meaning, the ritual is the second meaning, and the Devata propitiated in the ritual is the third meaning. So, Loka Adim Agnim Tamuvacha Tasmai. To Nachiketa, first he talked about what is the deity which is worshipped or propitiated in this fire ritual. And what is that deity? He does not say here. He says Loka Adim, the one which is the beginning or the beginning of this entire Loka. And what is it that is the beginning of entire Loka? Ishvara in the form of Samashti Sthula Prapancha. And what do we call Samashti Sthula Prapancha? We call it as Virat. We have seen it recently in Viveka Chudamani. We have seen it in Tattva Bodha that from the point of the Samashti Sthula Prapancha Ishvara is called as what? Virat Purushaha. Virat. Tasmad Virata Jayata. We have seen that. So that is the beginning of the Sthula Prapancha. That Sthula Prapancha, Abhimani, Devata, who is nothing but the manifestation of Ishvara, is called as Virat. And the same Virat from the Vyashti point of view is called as what? Vishwa. Vishwa Vaishwanara or Vishwa Virat. Virat is the Devata here who is propitiated, who is worshipped along with this fire ritual. And who is this Virat? Loka Adi, the beginning of the universe, the beginning of this sthula prapancha that we are seeing around. So what does he say here? He says, Loka Adim Agnim Tamuvacha Tasmai. So Bhagwan Yamadharmaraja first gave the deity as Virat to Tasmai, to Nachiketa in this Agnis. Then, Ya Ishtika Yavatirva Yathava. How to do that particular ritual, that Agni was also given. The second meaning of Agni. How to do the ritual. That means what? Ishtaka Yavatirva Yathava. That means what? What kind of a Homakunda should be made? How many bricks should be kept? Ishtaka means bricks. Bricks for the Yajna Kunda, for the Homa Kunda. What you call as the fire trough. Yajna Kunda can be translated as the trough or that well-like thing in which the Yajna is and fire is kindled and Yajna is done. So he is telling Yaha Ishtakaha Ishtaka. What kind of bricks are to be used? How many bricks are to be used? In what shape the Agni Kunda has to be made? Yama, that Yajna Kunda has to be made for that particular shape. The different shapes. It could be, the kunda could be of the shape of a square or a rectangle, or it could be of the shape of a semicircle, it could be the shape of a Garuda. Different kinds of Agni kundas are there, but for this ritual, what kind of, bricks, ishtakas means bricks have to be used, how they have to be arranged. That's what he told, how that ritual has to be done. So the first line talks about who is the Devata, Abhimani Devata of this ritual. That was first given or explained to Nachiketa. Then how to conduct the ritual was talked about in the form of how to create the Yamakunda, not the Yajna Kunda, and how to offer the oblations or the offerings, what kind of havish should be offered, what kind of a preparation has to be done. Is it ghee? Is it ghee only? Is it milk? Or is it some dhanyas, vrihi, etc.? Or is it some cooked thing, cooked rice or cooked thing? Purodasha, it is called something cooked like a dosa, it is purodasha. Or something, what is the offering to be made for this fire in the Yajna Kunda? All that is talked about. Then स चापि तत् प्रत्यवदत् यथोक्तम् अस्य मृत्युः पुनरेव आहतुष्टः. So Yamadharmaraja told him how to kindle this fire, how to do this ritual, who is the Abhimani Devata of this ritual. All these things were very clearly told by Yama to Nachiketa. And then what happened? Nachiketas immediately gave the whole thing, he summarized. He says, Asya mrityuhu punareva yathoktam. Yathoktam atha asya mrityuhu punareva aha tushtaha. Punareva aha. Who? Nachiketaha punareva aha. He repeated, he summarized. What did he summarize? Whatever Yamadharmaraja had talked till now, he summarized. And Mrityuhu Tushtaha. Mrityu Devata became very, very happy. Earlier days, there was no question of writing any notes. The Shishya had to listen very carefully, and it seems in the previous, earlier when it was taught in the Vedic periods also, that is what was told to us by our gurus, that before starting the next session, the Shishyas had to summarize what was taught in the previous session, it seems. Even now, some of the Vedanta gurus follow that before the next session is started, the Shishyas have to summarize one or two of them. In the last session, this was done. But in today's world, unfortunately, it is the Guru who has to summarize. In the last session, I did this, and summarize the thing and go further. Doesn't matter. Anyway, this is the tradition where whatever was taught has to be summarized. And therefore, what happened here? नचिकेतः पुनरेव आह यथोक्तम् अथा अस्य पुनरेव आह. Nachiketa, without leaving anything, having clearly understood, having had a sufficient grahana shakti and dharana shakti. See, this is the qualification of the Shishya here. I said the first section of the first chapter talks about the qualities of a guru and the qualities of Shishya. These are the qualities of the Shishya. The Shishya waited for the Guru for 3 nights. The Shishya asked for the Vara when he was asked for that. When he asked for the Vara also, he did not ask for himself. He asked for his father, for the benefit of his father, for benefit of the world. And with that Grahana Shakti and Dharana Shakti, whatever Yamadharmaraja had explained to him, he repeated it and summarized it exactly the way Yamadharmaraja had told him, which means that Nachiketas understood what was talked about by Yamadharmaraja. And naturally, any teacher will be happy if whatever he has taught is understood clearly, grasped clearly, and summarized equally clearly without missing anything, which guru will not be happy? So, Mrityuhu Tushtaha, last line. Mrityu Devata was very, very happy. And out of his happiness, what did he do? He gifted something to Nachiketa in addition to the varas. Only the second vara has been given now. Only the second vara or second boon is encashed. But then Yamadharma Raja is so happy that he gave Nachiketa two more gifts. What are those gifts? He says, how did he express his happiness? Yamadharmaraja was tushtaha. He was happy. He explained his happiness by giving Nachiketa two gifts in addition to the three varas. So, what are they? 16th mantra. Tam abravit priyamano mahatma varam tavehadya dadami bhuyah तवैव नाम्ना भवितायमग्निः सृङ्कां चेमान् अनेकरूपां ग्रहाण. So very briefly I will tell what he gave, then we'll discuss it next in the next session. We have just about 4 minutes left. Tam abravit priyamanaha mahatma. Yamadharma Raja is called here Mahatma by the Upanishad. A person who was willing to give, a person who was willing to share, a person who was willing to express his joy by giving. Therefore, he is a Mahatma. So, Mahatma Yamadharmaraja was very happy, Priyamanaha. And what did he say? I am going to give you two gifts, say Nachiketa, in addition to what I have already promised you. What is that? Tavaiva namna bhavita ayam agnihi. This ritual will be named after you. That means what? All these days, though the Veda Purva had this ritual, Swargyam Agnihi, to reach Swarga, there was no name given to that. So now Yamadharma Raja says, this particular ritual will be known by your name. Henceforth, this ritual will be called as Nachiketa. Nachiketa is the name of this ritual. That is what we see in some of the, Aruna Prashna and all we see. Nachiketa. In Veda Purva also now, here it says Nachiketa because Yamadharma Raja was so happy that he said, henceforth, this particular ritual will be called as Nachiketa ritual, Nachiketa Agnihi, Bhavita Ayam Agnihi Tavaiva Namna. It will be known by your name. And also, what did he go do? Srinkam cha imam aneka rupan grahana. He removed a very beautiful and a precious garland from his neck. Aneka Rupam, of various colors. Various colors are because of what? Various gems. Yamadharma Raja is after all a Devata. He is not a sannyasi. He is wearing a srinka. He is wearing a necklace with all precious gems which are of different colors. So what did he do out of this happiness? He removed his chain made up of various precious stones and he gave it to Nachiketa. He said, Srinkam. Srinkam means chain or a necklace. Cha iman aneka rupan. Aneka rupam means different colors. Aneka varna rupam, different colored. This srinka, this mala, this necklace. Grahana. Please take it. In future verses, we will know that Nachiketa did not even accept this. He returned it back to Yama because Nachiketa is not, though he is an 8-year boy, old boy, he is full of Vairagya. He did not accept any of these things given by Yamadharmaraja. This Tanka was returned. I will tell you later about that in the story. So we'll stop with this in this session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च। ॐ तत्सत्।